Welcome to the Krown Codex. I'm your host, Levi, and this podcast is for young men. Young men who know they're meant for more, but don't necessarily have the right guidance. Each episode, I bring on an expert that's actually put in the hours, done the work, who can help you build wealth, further develop relationships, overall help you become a more stronger, grounded man. There's no fluff or gatekeeping or anything like that. It's just a knowledge that might have cost you hundreds, if not thousands. So if you get any value from this, please show some love, subscribe, drop a comment in below, as these experts are literally coming on here, giving up their time for free. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into it.
We'll start a little bit of how you actually came to Kalgoorlie, like a little bit of your background.
I was actually born in Kalgoorlie, so I lived here till I was about 5 and moved to Perth to be closer to family. And I have been back for about literally 6 years this week.
6 years?
Yeah, I love it here.
So what brought you back to work?
Job. Yeah.
And what's your family background?
What do you mean?
Like, are you just Australian or?
Oh, the last name?
Yeah.
yeah, just Australian. My dad's great-grandfather came over from Croatia, and that's where the last name comes from. I get a few questions on that. It's a bit of a different one.
So what got you into psychology?
I think, I can't remember what age I was. I remember, finishing up year 12, kind of, I don't know what I want to do. Kind of wanted to be a vet, but knew I wouldn't get the scores for that and didn't really want to actually have to put animals down. So I kind of felt a bit lost after that, and I was kind of looking through stuff, and I was like, psychology, I think I could do that. Like, I've seen a psychologist before.
Yeah. Seems
like a cool job that every day is different, so I'll be kept, I guess, like mentally stimulated. It's something I can do a lot with. So I went from there, got into uni, and I've loved it ever since.
Where did you go to uni?
Curtin University.
Curtin University. Yep. That's in Perth?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And how was that experience?
Oh, I loved uni. It was so much
fun.
Really? Yeah, it's so different to high school. It's what I talk about with a lot of my teen clients that are kind of pushing to go to university. It is so different from high school. Very self-directed. Like, you have so much more fun. You get taught like an adult. It's really on you how well you do.
Did you have to do self-learning? Because of like that COVID, were you studying at that point?
I was studying online at that time, but I'd finished my kind of face-to-face degree. I was just doing extra stuff like I normally do, just bits and pieces.
Yeah. And how long were you studying for?
I spent 5 years with my undergraduate because I went part-time for the last 2 years. I had a break for about a year because COVID hit from studying, and then I did something which they don't actually do for the psychologists anymore, but it's called an internship program. So for 2 extra years, you're under kind of supervised practice. You have to complete all these tasks, film your sessions, case reports, stuff like that. So I did that for, I think it was 2.5 years that took me. And then I've just kind of continued on doing random bits and pieces of studying since then.
Yeah, I read about that. Is it like extra training and all the difference? Okay.
Yeah, so we have to, as psychs, we have to have a certain amount of professional development hours a year. So it's 30 per year. So they do like us to keep learning, and I just really enjoy it as well. Yeah. So I'm doing one at the moment on child treatment of trauma.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like each therapy you have to learn individually. Is that correct? Or?
It depends what you want to choose to kind of specialise in. At uni, they don't teach you, for the undergraduate degree, they don't teach you a lot about particular therapies. Mainly it's cognitive behavioural because that's the one that's most evidence-based, but where you really learn it is outside of the undergraduate. So if you do a master's degree or you do supervised practice, that's where you start kind of going into stuff, and you can choose, I guess, which areas you want to focus in more.
Yeah. And what qualifications and training and certificates have you obtained over the time? Because I feel like there's a lot.
I'm a generally registered psychologist, so I'm registered with the Health Board of Australia, so there's certain things you have to do there with the internship year, undergraduate stuff like that. I'm working towards being, I can't remember how they phrase it, but I've done my EMDR training. It's just putting together all the hours and my logbooks to submit to them to become EMDR accredited. which I think I've made enough hours. I've just been really slack on the logbooks.
Yeah.
I've done some schema therapy. I've done child abuse and trauma treatments. I'm doing that again now. Over COVID, I did a kind of criminal psychology short course degree.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know, it was a funded spot. Generally, if I can get a scholarship for something, I'll do it, because why not?
Yeah. You really like it that much?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy. Now, I read like a big focus for you is, you know, strong relationships and safety.
Yeah.
Why is that?
The research really shows us that the most important kind of predictor of your positive outcomes for therapy is the relationship. It's up to 60% of your treatment gains is just from the relationship, regardless of what kind of therapy modality you're using. I really like working in the trauma space, especially kind of like childhood trauma, stuff like that. So it's so important for people to feel safe with you before you can actually do any work, because generally people have spent their whole life not feeling quite safe. So if I can give them that and give them a strong relationship to kind of go into this stuff, I really enjoy doing that.
So is any relationship required like a safe space for change?
Yes, 100%, I think.
Yeah. Can you like emphasize or explain a little more about that?
I'm trying to think without trying to like say too much about particular clients or anything like that. Like I said, most of my client base are probably like childhood trauma or abuse, could be neglect, physical abuse, stuff like that. So they've kind of grown up with this idea that the world around them is not safe, people are not safe, people are not to be trusted. So you can imagine it'd be pretty hard to talk about things if you feel like you can't trust anyone or be safe around them.
Yeah, no, for sure. So what's it like if we just reversed it? Someone that like didn't have that space, what would that person look like?
Like they didn't have that
safe
childhood
space to develop.
They just wouldn't. They wouldn't be able to engage with therapy, I guess, at the deeper level. Probably at like more of a surface level for sure, but a lot of things we learn from childhood are really deeply ingrained, and it takes a lot of work to uncover them, and it is quite uncomfortable. So you have to feel safe. You have to feel like the person you're talking to cares for you, has kind of got your back, knows what they're doing as well, is always a good thing.
Yeah, that's because you know, when we talked before about, you know, the scheme theory, that was something I definitely want to develop and talk about.
Yes.
So just got some questions from, I guess, my audience, myself as well.
Yeah. Just
like random, there's no anything, but there's so many factors that like affect someone's mental health, and I heard like, you know, speaking from with other psychologists, you know, some focus just like on the individual, and some focus on the individual and, you know, the environment. Can we, like, my question is, can we address someone or help someone without like addressing the environment they're in?
Depends what kind of environment they're in. I guess like if you're, I keep going back to the trauma stuff, but if you're in a traumatic environment, you're trying to recover from trauma, it's kind of hard to kind of disprove these thoughts you have about the world and how unsafe it is if your environment is still unsafe.
So it's depending on the environment. So if it's extreme, no.
Yeah.
But if it's, I guess, moderate, maybe that's
it depends what
if
the
it's moderate, you
presentation
can, I
is.
guess, power through it. Would you say that?
Some things, I guess, for certain anxiety kind of disorders, like yes, it is. You will have to learn, I guess, not how to cope. How to cope with your environment a bit more. There is certain things you can change as an individual in your environment to make the environment around you better. But we only really have control of ourselves and what we can do. We can't control too much the environment around us. It's more how we react to it, how we respond to it. You can take yourself out of bad environments, some of them.
Yeah.
Like bad friendships, bad relationships, stressful like workplaces and things like that. There is certain things you can do in your power, but not always.
So if, let's say, an individual had like really strong willpower, do you think they can just power through anything?
I think you can until you can't anymore.
Okay.
I think there becomes a point, and I see that a lot, especially with some of the older men I see. They have pushed through for 20 odd years and it's just gone on top of them now.
Yeah. So another one was, I like to read, and, you know, like self-development book, business, and there's always like a mindset section.
Yep.
And, I've read enough books and talked to enough people where you kind of see patterns. How much of psychology is literally like a glass half full?
Depends which approaches, I guess,
Yeah.
and like what stage you're at in the therapy. Sometimes it's easier to go from kind of negative to neutral instead of straight from negative to positive. I do that a lot with people, especially kind of beliefs about yourself. So if you think you hate yourself and you're not a good person, it's going to be pretty hard to swap that to I love myself and I'm a great person. So we try and aim towards the middle a bit more, like I'm okay as I am. And then we can move positive from there. But
so it's like changing those beliefs about them.
Yeah.
And would that change the way they see?
Yes,
Like,
we'd hope so.
Yeah. So
most of the time, yeah.
Yeah, if you change the beliefs, would it then is it like changing the beliefs so it ends up being a glass half full, basically?
Yeah, it can be.
Yeah. What point does that was what I wanted to say. At what point does positive thinking become unrealistic?
I mean, I guess like the world's not always positive. We've got a lot happening in our world right now, and it's kind of hard to remain positive about what's going to happen in the future. I guess we can be realistic without being overly positive. Sometimes it is hard to stay realistic when we really want to be positive, but sometimes we kind of fool ourselves a bit too much maybe and just push through.
Because I think you mentioned before what I especially as a guy, we kind of just keep going, keep pushing, keep chugging along, be positive and all that. So I'm trying to figure out at what point where it's you should get some help. Talk to someone.
Yeah, I guess lots of people just shove it down and be like, oh, it's okay, that didn't affect me too much, but it takes a lot of energy to not think about something as well. We don't realise how much it takes. So if you're kind of shoving something down in a box and not dealing with it, you're actually using up a fair amount of energy to keep that at bay, and then you haven't really processed it, so it's still quite unresolved, even years and years later.
So it takes a bunch of energy not to think about it.
Really does. It's weird to think.
Yeah, that's
And trying not to think about something usually brings it up. So if I say don't think about a pink elephant right now, usually that'll pop into your head.
Yeah. Okay. So what should we do instead?
I think to a point, it depends what the situation is. Like if you're in a situation and you just cannot fall apart right now, you cannot think about it. Yes, sometimes you do have to push through. But I think recognizing when you're out of it, when you're a bit safer, you're able to be able to be like, hey, I think I need to take that out and have a look at that. And then decide from there if you need, I guess, professional assistance to help look through it a bit more.
So if it's a business and meeting or high stakes, get through it, and then note it, and then when you're in a safe space, work on it.
Reflect.
Is there a difference between a young man developing and a grown man psychology?
It's very individual. I can only kind of speak, I guess, in averages.
Yeah, for sure.
Some men mature a lot quicker than others. There's some really, really mature young men I've met, and there's some really, I guess, more immature older men that I've met. I think younger men typically are focusing more on identity, status, things like that. Generally, older men not so much. I feel like they've kind of gotten through that. They're feeling a bit more, I guess, stabilised in who they are and where they fit in the world. But I feel like they tend to suffer more from depression. In my experience from the men that I see, the older guys tend to suffer a bit more from depression, whereas the younger ones, it's a bit more social anxiety kind of things.
So it's more, we'll touch base on both. So what do you think the reason is we emphasize status and identity as a young man? Society.
I think a lot of the things impacting young men, I think, is societal influences. So I was going to print it out, but I forgot to. I was refreshing on a study this morning. I think it's from 2024, called the Man Box Study. It's a great study to read. It's really interesting. It's all about male perceptions of and how much they go with ideas of masculinity. So kind of traditional masculinity and stuff like that. So some of the questions were women only like guys that look nice. I need to be the provider for my family, things like that. As a man, I can use violence to get what I want. And it's quite interesting to look at the differences between the 18 to 30-year-olds and the 31 to 45-year-olds. and what they tend to agree on more. And I guess what's more popular in our society nowadays, like we have seen a bit of a re-emergence of kind of more traditional values with everything happening in the world. So it'll be interesting to see the next round of this study that they do, to see what kind of beliefs have changed, how much men identify with these things. What they did find is the men that identify more with the traditional ideas of masculinity, so much more likely to have negative mental health impacts.
Okay, why is that?
They didn't really go into it, but like much more likely to self-harm, much more likely to drink multiple times a week, much more likely to gamble, much more likely to report symptoms of depression, things like that. So it's definitely something we need to look into a bit more, but it is interesting how kind of the more traditional ideas aren't really helping up yet.
Yeah, I'm curious, what do you think the reason is? Like, if you would like to guess or hypothesize.
Well, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
It could be to do with help-seeking behaviours. It could be to do with, I guess, that idea like real men don't cry, real men don't talk about their feelings, which is not the case, and it's actually not helpful at all. So it could be, I don't know, everything's bottling up. Could be the kind of families they've grown up in. Like I said, a lot of those men kind of endorse the idea that you can be violent to get what you want. So maybe they've grown up in households where that was the case, which we know has impacts, like childhood trauma has quite severe impacts later on in life. So it could be so many different things.
So many things. Do you think, like, what's the positives and negatives in your eyes? Like, or do you think it's all negative or all positive? What society, you're saying like we get a lot from society about identity and all that. Is there some things we can take that are good, or
I think it's shifting a bit. I think it could shift a bit more. I guess working in the mental health space, I see people when they're at their worst. I think it could shift more, especially with like men socialising with their friends, being able to talk to their friends about kind of hard things. In my experiences, the men I see, do you ever talk to your friends about this stuff? Do you ever hang out with your friends when you're feeling down? Oh no, I couldn't do that. Whereas the women I see are much more likely to reach out to friends, just be around people when they are feeling this way. So I think that's something that could shift, which I feel like it is shifting in a way. I guess at the moment, especially around Kalgoorlie, I'm noticing a lot more emphasis on physical exercise, like run clubs, gym clubs, stuff like that. Always great, really good for people to get around that.
Yeah.
How it impacts their mental health. I guess some of the stuff that was changing in that study was kind of ideas about homosexuality and stuff like that. So typically the older guys would agree with statements that like a gay man's not a real man, a trans man is not a real man, whereas the younger generation weren't, which is really nice to see that. And I assume that's because we're getting more kind of exposure to that. We're noticing more of our friends kind of fit into those demographics. And yeah, once you have the first-hand experience, generally you can like, wow, this isn't what I've been thinking is faulty.
I think it's increased, but has the overall mental health of young guys increased or decreased in your eyes?
I think it's just more acceptable to reach out for help. Like, people feel more comfortable being able to ask for help. I mean, that pop psychology is the thing. There's so much stuff that happens through psychology that's suddenly trending on Instagram, stuff like that. So I don't know if there's just more of that coming. So people think, okay, like, oh, psychology might be something that's useful for me because I can see more of it on my social media. I can see more people talking about it. I'm not sure. I guess mental health in general has increased because of the world we live in and how fast paced it is. But I wouldn't say that men have increased any more than anyone else. I think young people in general as well. With like uncertainty about the future. We don't know what's happening with the climate. We don't know what's happening geopolitically.
Is there, I guess, a healthy place where we can get, like we get a lot from society as a young man. Is there a healthy place where we know we can rely on and like trust like this is the right thing?
I think it's just about having kind of balanced information sources. So what I think is probably not what you think kind of stuff. What we agree with is probably not the same thing, but I think taking it from lots of sources gives you a bit more of a balancing, like you can consider something that person said and that person has said, and you can kind of make your own concepts from that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so I guess like
You're not exclusively listening to like the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah,
or anything
so you
like
get
that.
as much views and
Yeah.
form your own opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. For, I guess, the education system, what do you think? Like, what do you wish like the education system taught us while we're developing as a psychologist?
So much.
So much.
So much. I talk about this a lot. I really think we should be doing more to set people up for real life, actual life, work life, doing subjects that maybe are more aligned with what the real world kind of looks like. Like I said this to someone earlier this week, I don't know anything about the angles of triangles. I remember that was a big thing in maths going through high school. I've never used it.
Yeah.
It would be really useful to know how to budget, do taxes, things like that instead of that. So I wish they would do more stuff that's actually applicable later on. Number one thing I think they should have taught is kind of emotional identification.
Okay.
I spent
Can
a
you
lot
explain
of
what
my
that
time
is?
just identifying different emotions, what they look like, what they feel like in your body, what they can mean. That emotions are just information, they're not instructions, things like that. I feel like that could have really been done quite earlier in childhood and would have really helped a lot of people. I spent a lot of my days teaching that in these sessions.
Yeah, I feel like that is like a big thing, and I don't know why it's not introduced, because yeah, it's just like, I feel like it's, especially I feel like as a guy we suck with that even more. So I feel like, so for someone that hasn't been taught anything or hasn't developed, what would you say is a good way to
I don't know if you can see it there. So that's rainbow wheel. That's an emotion wheel. That can be a really good. That's why it's kind of in arm's reach for where I normally sit, because I hand it to people quite a lot. Where it just kind of, we usually know the kind of core, the base emotion. Like we know it's anger, we know it's sadness, we know it's happy. We don't know the kind of finer details of them.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we'll take a picture and put that up. There's a lot more on that than even I would thought, like.
Oh, and that's not everything as well.
Yeah. So, are you trying to say the little ones, like the outer circle, I'm guessing, is more important?
Yeah, I guess they're more kind of subtle.
Subtle.
Subtle. I can't even read them from here even with glasses. It's that.
Are we allowed to take it off?
Of course you are.
Because this is.
And knowing what it feels like in your own body as well.
Yeah.
There's lots of different things in our body that feel quite similar. So anxiety and excitement, they often have that feeling in your stomach. You've got butterflies, you get a bit of an adrenaline rush. If you don't know that excitement can feel the same as anxiety, you might think you're anxious all the time.
Yeah.
But you actually might be excited.
So this one says, is that zeal?
Zeal?
Like, I've never even heard of that.
Oh, I don't even know how to explain that one. Yeah, some of these are pretty different.
So could you like actually walk us, what is, so you got these are just like the mains,
I think
and
these are
everything
the ones
stem from this?
Yeah, these are the ones that are usually easier to identify for people.
Okay. And what's the importance of identifying?
Because they come with kind of different messages in our head, I guess. So you could be, you're feeling angry, you could be feeling hate, but you could also be feeling jealous. Different, like very different kind of outcomes from them, I guess.
Okay, so like one's hate and one's jealous. Let's say, is there like a scenario of where that you could use that would be like bad?
I guess off the top of my head, it could be your friend's done something that you really like. They've got something that you really wanted to get. If you were like, you might feel that you're angry about it. If you look into it more, you might feel more jealous. But if you don't know kind of the deeper feelings of it, you just might assume that you're angry at them. You might not know why. You might take it out on them. You might take it out on yourself. You might feel bad because you're like, I don't know why I'm feeling all these feelings.
Yeah. So like, if I can only get to that first level, say like I'm just feeling angry, and I don't identify if it's
The
jealous
deeper
or
kind of
that
thing.
deeper, that confusion could lead to something else.
Yeah.
So if I identify it, and then what does that look like? So like, let's say, I was just jealous.
Yeah.
That's just leave it as that? Is that like the healthy way?
What I like to do with people is like where you feel it in your body.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so lots of people feel different emotions in different spots in their body. Typically, it's kind of stomach, chest, head. I've had people say feet before. I've had someone say ears before. Just kind of knowing, I guess, where emotions fit in your body helps you identify them as well.
Yeah. For young men, I don't know if this is true that it's literally all upper body where we hold a lot of it, like our shoulders, chest.
I think it's very individual. I've had a young man tell me it was in his feet.
Okay.
So
yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Because what I meant by like that is like, you know, we hold like a lot of tension in our upper body. And,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe there's a physical side.
It could be.
Okay.
I mean, tense. If we're anxious or stressed or something, we typically do hold our muscles tighter. We're kind of protecting ourselves. It's very trendy at the moment, but that kind of fight or flight, stuff like that. It's very evolutionarily, it makes sense. Like if you've got to fight or you've got to run, you're going to be tense. You're going to be ready to go. That was when we were running away from things like tigers or something that's going to kill us. Now we don't really have that stuff as much, but we're still kind of hardwired to react to stress in that way. So for some people, that could be picking up a phone call or, you know, going out somewhere when they're feeling stressed. So there's still that fight or flight, but we stay, I guess, in it for an extended time. Like when you're running away from something that's going to kill you, if you're a caveman, there's only so long that's going to happen.
Yeah.
If you're in stressful situations all the time, you're kind of locked into that.
Yeah, no, I've heard that. My next question would be, how much of it is like, does it all stem from biology? Sorry. The psychology, like, is it all stem from that, or is it, you know, a spiritual aspect as well?
One of the biggest arguments in psychology is like nature versus nurture. Like, were we born this way? We're made this way.
Okay.
So it's a very broad spectrum. Some people completely believe it's nature, like humans are hardwired this way. Other people completely believe it's how we've been brought up. Generally, we try to sit in the middle. So nature via nurture. So we might have, I guess, the predisposition for these things, but it depends how we've grown up, what we've experienced, and things like that.
Yeah, that's tough.
I know.
Yeah.
And then we add kind of the layer of like society, spirituality, and stuff like that as well, which kind of falls under the nurture, how we've grown up and how we view the world. It's too difficult to tease it apart a lot of the time. There's so many factors into everything.
Yeah, so you can't distinguish.
Not all the time, no.
Okay, yeah. Because, yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about it a little more, but because you got, you know, your upbringing, which is a big thing, and then, you know, as a guy, you know, when I was speaking with Kayla and all that, you know, as a man, like the testosterone and all that, so that's biology. It's just like, I guess that conflict that you're saying. So, so you say has to sit in the middle.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it relatively sits in the middle.
What are the limitations of a psychologist in terms of, you know, improving one's life?
I think a lot of people come into it thinking it's going to be a quick fix or kind of like a magic pill thing. With psychology, you are going to get out what you put into it. So if you put in the effort, it will pay off. If you're going into it and not really, I guess, implementing things, changing things, you're not going to get that great of a benefit from it. So it is quite like a conscious effort. Which is really hard when you're going through things sometimes. It's exhausting to do this stuff. Yeah. And I totally get that. But yeah, there's only so much I can do in the hour that I see someone. It's the rest of their week, how that plays out for them, what they implement, what changes they make.
So they still need like a level of discipline to, I
don't know if discipline's the right word. Maybe a little bit of motivation, just an understanding.
Yeah.
Observing things more even. Sometimes that can be really useful. And that's pretty, you know, not as hard to do as some of the other stuff, just observing how you react in situations, kind of noticing patterns where we can change the patterns, things like that.
Yeah, because a big thing is like, again, I don't know if this is true, but like how we think is like a habit. So a habit, you know, you have to, you know, work on it and all that, which like you said, requires like a lot of effort. I'm going to throw you in like a scenario because I'm curious. But let's say like I come in here and I'm very like, I feel like life's not going my way. I'm very depleted.
Yeah.
I'm just not enjoying the little things and all that. I kind of want help, you know, I'm just not, I guess, high energy, very low, what would you do?
I mean, that's the kind of, I guess, what we see with depression and stuff like that. It's that low energy because it's exhausting to do things. Depending, I don't know, it's hard.
Yeah,
It's
you
not-
can generalize
it's
this.
not specific.
Like,
I guess something we kind of look at sometimes, we have something called a hierarchy of needs. So a guy called Maslow's made this beautiful pyramid that I don't have printed out anywhere. I'm sure you can find one
Yeah.
online. So it's the kind of pyramid of needs. So we have to have the bottom level and we have to keep going up the levels before we reach the top, which is self-actualization. So the bottom is like food, water, shelter, real basics. Sometimes if people aren't getting the basics, you can't move up. There's not much you can do. So there's different levels to it. So depending on the level, you know, it could be safety, it could be connection, stuff like that we don't have. So we'd be working on trying to do that before we can get them to a place. And generally, like a bit of thought challenging, being like, where are these negative patterns coming from? Why do you keep thinking this way? Why are we thinking this way? Like, where is this?
Yeah.
When does this come up in life for you?
So, what are specifically the basics?
The basics at the bottom of the pyramid kind of thing. Food, water, shelter.
Shelter?
Yep.
Because I heard a big one was sleep.
Oh, 100%.
Is that, yeah.
100%.
So is there any more like that, or?
I can't remember the next levels off the top of my head, to be honest. Usually we're looking
If you
at
want to
the
search it
basics.
out, yeah.
Yeah, we're looking at basics with people a lot of the time because they're not really meeting them.
Yeah, because like
Or having like unstable housing environment.
yeah.
Not knowing if you're going to have your lease renewed or something like that. Like it's hard to focus on anything else.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Because you don't know
basic-
if your shelter's guaranteed.
Yeah, okay, that confused me. So basics just like everyday life, just get those, and that can be broad.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll show you. There you go, news. So physiological, so food, shelter, sleep was on there.
Sleep, clothing, reproduction.
Not all of them have reproduction on it. This is just the first one that came up.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then safety, then connection, and then we can kind of.
So,
Again, we'll probably put that up.
That's all right.
So, you know, as love was like in the middle, and what was the first one?
The tippy top.
Yeah.
Self-actualization, so like being the best person you can be.
Okay, and you can't do any of that without the basics.
It's harder to.
Harder
It's a lot
to.
harder to.
Okay. Yeah. So if they don't have the basics, you try and do you suggest?
We try and implement stuff that's going to benefit them. If it is kind of a bit more sleep hygiene to get better sleep schedule, because you can't really think if your brain's tired as well. Like, you know, at the end of the day, you're just knackered. You can't think at all. So it's trying to get those things like regular meals, drinking enough water, the basics. So I guess physically, you can put in the work to do these things. You're able to think clearer. You're able to get through a day.
So basically, it's like how I'm pitching it is like a battery, and
Yeah.
for us to be like the best self, that battery needs to be fully charged.
That's a great way to think about it.
Okay, cool. I want to dive into your main studies now and all this. The first one was cognitive behavior was one of them. I'll let you give the definition.
So cognitive behavioural therapy is probably the most widely used one in the world because it is so researched. It's gold standard for everything. I draw from a lot of therapy approaches, so I don't really stick with one or the other. I kind of blend them as needed. So I wouldn't stick, I guess, to CBT, cognitive behavioural, religiously. I think there's some really great aspects in there that I use, but I tend to pull from, I guess, my library of stuff, whatever's going to suit the person. Generally, cognitive behavioural is thoughts, feelings, behaviours. So your thoughts and feelings can influence your behaviours. Big triangle, they can all influence each other. So really pulling them apart and figuring out where in this chain can we make some change.
So is it thoughts and beliefs? Is that the one it
Pretty
stems
similar.
from?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What are the most common negative thoughts that you've seen in young men, or beliefs?
I guess I'm not good enough. Lots of worry about socially fitting in. the young guys I see they're all very different from each other, so I'm trying to like pull them together. A lot of it is the social stuff. I think that's pretty common across most of the guys that I see, is how they fit in socially, or feeling like they don't fit in, or something's wrong with me because people are different with me, even though they might not be different. It's just the perception of it. Not good enough, I don't know my place in the world, those kind of things, like just quite lost.
Where do you think those stem from?
I don't know if it's an expectation we have on people to know how they want to live their life at a very young age, and you have to know this about yourself and this, that and the other. Life's a learning journey the whole way through. It doesn't matter if you don't know what you want to be right now. It could change tomorrow. I could decide tomorrow I want to quit and become a firefighter.
Yeah. Because I've seen, like, especially friends and family, I guess. I'm going to use fighting as an example, that like have the talent, have the work ethic, but just the fear of like getting on, you know, that stage in front of people, that holds them back. But I know like they're such a great fighter.
Yeah.
So why does it feel so real and intense for them where they can't do that?
Depends, I guess. Like, what's have they had a bad experience with it before? Have they, you know, had freak out on stage? Have they lost before? Are they just generally quite an anxious person? Like, are they kind of predisposed to this thinking style, things like that? Do they really believe, like, if I get up there, something bad's going to happen or something's going to go wrong, and that means I'm a bad person? Often when you kind of narrow down into these really negative thoughts, they're quite automatic, so they're really hard to, I guess, grab onto to begin with. And they often don't make sense, and that's what sucks about them. Like, you can look at it logically and be like, well, you know, I know that doesn't make sense, but it feels really real.
Does it always stem from something, like stem from a root or something? Or can it literally just be
not always quite like an obvious one. Again, like sometimes it can just be kind of repeated things, really small things that have just been repeated over life that have really helped, I guess, solidify this belief in your brain.
So like small things just
sometimes
compounded.
It's big, sometimes it's small.
Yeah. Okay. How does you know, if someone has this like a belief that's not really good for them, especially as a young man, how would that look day-to-day life?
Do you have it like an example of a belief that most people you talk to you seem to have? Is it easy to go through like that?
Let's just say like that I'm not good enough.
So if you think you're not good enough, there's this thing that our brain does. We look for information to kind of prove what we already think, which can be really good if you're thinking positively. If you're thinking negatively, not so good. So if you think you're not good enough, you're not going to put yourself in situations where you can prove that wrong. Or if you are in that kind of situation, you'll be in your head about it, thinking I'm not good enough, like I'm not going to be able to do this, I don't know why I've done this, I feel so stupid. You're going to be so in your head that you're not actually going to be able to do the thing that could prove you wrong.
Yeah. And that ties to identity, like basically how I see myself. Anything that goes against it, I just won't do.
It can.
Yeah. Okay. I'm struggling to understand that. Like, why is that the case? Like, why wouldn't it be like I know this is like I'm nervous and it might fail. Why can't I just do it anyway?
Sometimes there's a really big difference between what we logically know and what we emotionally know.
Okay.
And it can be really hard, the self-awareness sometimes, like knowing that it's not logical, but it's stuck there anyway. It's the emotional part that's really, I guess, stuck, has not been processed. Logically, yeah, you know it. You've probably beat yourself up about it because you feel like you're like, why do I keep thinking this way? I know this isn't true, like I know. But emotionally it's stuck. And they're quite different sometimes.
Yeah. No, that's interesting how you said there's a difference between, you know, a gap between the logical and emotional side. So how big is self-awareness in terms of this?
Self-awareness is a great thing for me as the practitioner. It can be really hard, I guess, when you're starting your journey to have that self-awareness and start recognizing your patterns and things like that. It depends, I guess, how long you've kind of been self-aware, things like that. Like, are you going to make the change? Stuff like that. It's a tricky one. I do, like a lot of people do kind of express their frustration once they start developing that self-awareness and understanding like, oh my God, I'm doing it again. So then it kind of goes onto that, I guess, negative, kind of like, oh, you're doing it again, kind of thing. Like, do you get what I mean?
Yeah, so there's some that are like
it kind of like
completely,
dips and then
yes.
goes back up. Yeah.
Yeah, so some are self-aware, and then there's some that are self-aware but
Yep.
still won't do it.
And it's the developing it too. Like, it's a skill. It's like a muscle you have to train it. But it could be, like, oh my god, I did that again.
Yeah, how do you develop that skill? Do you need someone to help you, or can you do this by yourself as an individual?
You probably can. Again, like, some of the things we do in psychology, you could probably implement on your own. I think it's always good to have that professional there to kind of bounce things off and kind of guide and direct in the right way. But some of it, I guess, like with self-awareness, it's a lot of reflection. It's looking back at things and being like, okay, what came up for me right there? What kind of thoughts was I thinking? How have they maybe kind of coloured how I viewed this situation? Is there a better way that I could have thought about this? Is there a way that was more balanced? Could I have acted a bit better in this?
So just taking some time out of your day just to, I guess, process. Because there's a big thing, I know, just people in general, that because life's so go, the only time they get to process is just like right before bed. So is it just, instead of just like having all those thoughts rush, should we just process them throughout the day?
Yeah, I think it would be great if we could. Sometimes our life doesn't really allow us the opportunity to do that because we are so rushed all the time. But even just giving yourself some time, even if it's like a couple of hours on the weekend and like a couple of hours during the week, something that you know is there for you to be able to have these moments and think through things. I always tell people, write things in your phone notes. Yeah, it's so much easier because we think like, yeah, I'll remember that, I'll think about that later, but you never do.
I think, I know I've struggled with this in the past, is knowing when the right time is. Because sometimes, like, working in the mind, and I've done a flight camp, it's literally go. When is the point where I go, I guess, put this high on my priority list, say, now you need to take a break? Like, what's the indicators?
Like, it could be some kind of like physical stuff, like you notice you might be more agitated, you might be more tense, not sleeping as well, waking up not feeling as rested, your mind feels restless, things like that, making like little mistakes that you wouldn't normally make. Like, those can be signs that there's something going on and maybe you need to take a break. And that can be something physical's going on as well. You know, we're pretty good at resting. I mean, some of us are pretty good at resting when we're unwell, like we've got the flu or something like that, because we know the symptoms of the flu and we know what's going to happen if we don't rest. We don't really know that as much with mental health. Like, we forget that there's symptoms and things we are looking out for.
Is processing, I was supposed to mention that with the sleep example, is processing the same as like just sitting in front of a television?
No, not at all.
Like, because it's like you're shutting off, so what is the difference between actually processing and just, I guess, scrolling on TikTok and, Netflix and that?
Because you're not really thinking. Then you're kind of focused on other stuff. Processing, you probably have to get that little photo too. Great example that I always use on the right hand corner, especially with trauma, but I use it with everything. So we think of it like a linen cupboard. Like, everyone's got a linen cupboard they've just kind of shoved stuff in, or a cupboard at home. Like, it's pretty messy, the door's about to explode, you kind of open it, shove something in there and shut it again. What we should be doing is kind of taking things out individually, kind of examining them, folding them back, putting them back in nicely so it looks like a bit more organised.
No, that's actually,
it's a really good way to think about it.
So
it doesn't have to be everything at once.
Chuck it away and then slowly empty it,
I mean, it's good if we put it in folded nicely every time, but that's not always possible.
No, that's good. Another one was, cognitive is it dialectical? With the big emotions.
Dialectical.
Yeah, sorry.
I had to think about that for a second. What does it stand for?
It kind of kept coming with like acronyms, so I had to like, But how would that be? Oh, can you explain what that is?
Dialectical behaviour therapy was developed particularly for a certain personality disorder. I can't remember when, it's been around for ages now. And it's quite beneficial for other stuff as well. So it has kind of it's quite manualised. So it's got 4 kind of main points to it. So mindfulness, I know mindfulness is first, I always get the order of the other ones mixed up, distress tolerance, emotional regulation, and interpersonal effectiveness.
Okay.
So yeah, there's different kind of branches to it. Again, I just pull things from different areas, so I probably don't work as manual and to the book as expected, but it's a really good treatment. It is kind of one of the cognitive therapy ones as well. It just focuses really, draws stuff from kind of like Buddhist ideas, things like that. So mindfulness is the first thing that we do with that. It's so important to be able to be mindful of things, and that helps with the emotional regulation, with distress tolerance, stuff like that.
So, to sum that up, is the definition just handling big emotions?
The what? For which definition of what?
This treatment. Is just handling big emotions.
It's like your mindfulness of your experience, being able to tolerate distress, being able to regulate emotions before they get too big, and to be able to, I guess, engage with people effectively.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's the management.
Yeah.
Okay. Would that have anything to do with, I guess, suppression? A big thing for guys is, bottling it down. Could you talk about that? Or?
It can be. So I guess we see with men a lot that comes out as anger. When it's not all the time, but generally, like, I think if it's going to come out, it's going to be in anger. So it is really important to learn how to regulate that, deal with the distress. Anger is a really easy emotion to feel as well compared to a lot of the other ones. Like, it's much easier to be angry than upset a lot of the time, because that's our go-to. Because we do, in a way, we do feel kind of powerful when we're angry, and sometimes, it's nice to feel that when you're feeling a bit out of control. It's how you express that anger and what you do with it, which, can change it. Like, if you're expressing your anger at other people, probably not best.
Yeah, because I feel like this is a big thing in terms of, I feel like, I don't know what's your opinion, but there's a difference between a girl and like a fully grown man getting angry. I feel like as a grown man, like, we tend to suppress it because I guess maybe the stigma that we're a lot more dangerous in that state. Is that right or wrong? Or
I don't know, that's a tough one. I guess, like, again, everything's pretty general. Like, there's so many individual differences in everything. I guess, like, society-wise, like, yes, men are probably perceived to be more dangerous when they're angry, I guess because of the physicality and stuff like that. But again, it's all in average. Like, it's really hard to pull everything apart, and I do think society is plays such a role in all of these things.
Yeah, because with, like, that emotion world, I feel like guys don't have as much depth.
Yeah.
And so it's harder for them to process, and the longer process, it builds up.
Yeah.
And it's not in general, but I have seen where it's bottled up for so long, and it kind of just, like, pops. And, like, it's not even about that one scenario. It's literally
that was a little bit that tipped it over the edge.
Tipped it over, and it ends up bringing so much that's from the past and all that kind of stuff.
It just all comes out at once. Yeah, that's very common for everyone.
So, what advice would you give to a young man so that, I don't want to say doesn't happen, but, a better solution?
I think it's just letting stuff out a bit more, like, not letting it get to the point where it is going to explode. So sometimes we use, like, something called a stress bucket metaphor. So it kind of links into what you talked about. So, like, we've got a bucket and we can only fit, I guess, like 10 kind of units in it. If you're always operating at an 8 or 9 kind of stress out of everything, it'll be that one thing, like the two out of 10 that's going to tip you over the edge. And we often see that it's that tiny little thing that you're like, I don't know why that made me just lose it then.
Yeah.
But it's because you're so full, you're so close to being full already, that just is what overflowed it.
Yeah.
So learning to kind of let the levels down a bit more. So finding the things that do reduce your stress and your anger. So it could be like going for a run, it could be doing sport, catching up with your friends, something like that.
So a lot of physical activity, social.
Physical's good with anger, because that's the kind of drive that we have when you're angry, is you want to do something physical.
Is there something we could do in the moment? Let's say, I didn't do a good job of emptying that bucket, and it's now reached that point.
Yeah.
And I don't want to just, like, lose control. What's something I can do in that moment?
with DBT, what we focus on so much is kind of mindfulness, so being mindful of these things that are popping up. Like, yes, this is just information, this isn't a fact. And when you're mindful, you're usually, hopefully, able to kind of spot these things coming a bit more. So you're like, okay, this is when I need some of my distress tolerance kind of skills, because it is distress, like this, it's a big emotion that's happening. So it could be, looking at the skills that you've been taught in that, taking yourself out of the situation for a bit, having a pause. There's so many different skills that teachers, it's hard to kind of, but it would be a bit like, okay, this is kind of crisis, I need to get out the crisis kind of level skills.
What's one?
One I love is it's so hard to explain. So we have two kind of branches of one of our nervous systems. So sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic is kind of fight or flight, parasympathetic is rest and digest. So when you're kind of aggravated or distressed, you're in your sympathetic, you fight or flight. So humans have this really cool thing. So when we dive underwater, so hold our breath in some water, our parasympathetic nervous system automatically activates, because you can't really be swimming if you're kind of flopping around and stuff like that. So it's a really cool thing that our body does. So one of the skills that I teach is, it's called like tipping your body temperature. So it's like holding your breath, putting your face in some cold water and holding your breath. So usually, sometimes it might take a couple tries to bring you down, but it will bring you down. Some people find they can do it with just kind of cold water on the back of their neck. Some people can splash their face. Some people need the kind of full immersion. That's the hard bit.
I haven't heard
But it
that
is something
one.
that you can do in the bathroom or something. If you need to get out of a situation at work, you can just go to the bathroom and do that.
Yeah, I haven't heard that one. But so you got the two systems. You got basically on go.
Yep.
And then a rest and recovery.
Yep.
And to shift into that recovery, just cooling your body down.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the holding the breath.
Holding the breath.
Yeah.
What's the holding the breath? Just help cool it?
Yeah, it just helps with the dive reflex thing. So if we dive underwater, there's water on our face and we're holding our breath.
Okay, yeah, I haven't heard that one.
Oh, it's a really weird one, but
it
works. It's pretty cool.
Now, we talked a little bit before about scheme therapy.
Yes.
This is one that I actually wanted to dive in, because I feel like, especially not just young guys, but just young people in general, we're still, I guess, trying to figure out our roots and all that kind of stuff, and don't have the best understanding. So what if like someone lacks like understanding of their upbringing? What is the effects on that in later life?
Depends.
Sorry. Actually, can you explain what scheme therapy is?
It's such a cool therapy. It's very complicated to explain sometimes. So I'll kind of do base level stuff. So it looks at enduring patterns of like thoughts, behaviors, feelings that have occurred throughout your life. Generally, with this therapy, we believe that they started early on in life. Again, there's another picture of this is why I have pictures here. So if we're looking at the core needs that we have, so those are core emotional needs that we have as children. So safety, stable base and predictability, love, nurturing, attention, acceptance and praise, empathy, guidance, protection, validation of needs and feelings, realistic limits, autonomy, spontaneity and play, free expression of needs and emotions. So if we don't have those met as a child, it can have lasting impacts, and that's what our schemas are basically. So they have just updated it in the last year. I think there's 21 of them now.
21?
Yeah, there was 18 and there's 21 of them now. I'm pretty sure it's 21 or 22. And they just kind of map out onto those different kind of domains. So a really common one I see a lot is probably self-sacrifice. So I'm a good person because I meet others' needs. Which, you know, everyone has schemas. It's just to what level they are, if they're impacting you too much. So if you have the self-sacrifice one too much, you're never going to meet your own needs because you're always meeting other people's. That kind of builds resentment, exhaustion, stuff like that, but it's a pattern, right? So you want to keep doing it because our brains really love patterns and not having to think as much as we need to. So they stick in that stuff.
Let's say, I mean, we can use that one as an example. Let's say I'm missing one of them in my upbringing. How do I guess reflect and I guess see like what's happening or why am I not getting the results?
This is probably where you would want a professional in, because some of these things can be really, really hard to spot. If you think about it now as an adult, the way we think about things as children is very, very different. So you could be looking back at these experiences that you've had, but you're thinking about it with an adult brain, not how a child would view it. So you might be like, oh, like it's not a big deal that, you know, my parents always told me they'd go to Disneyland and they never took me. As a child, that's going to mean something a lot different. That I can't trust what people say, like people are going to let me down, stuff like that.
So we take a snippet from our childhood and we process that, and that can, I guess, come up with a different lens as we look back.
It's probably unprocessed if it's coming
Unprocessed,
back.
okay, unprocessed, yeah. So there's no way we can do it by ourselves.
I mean, some people can. If you're wanting specifically this kind of schema approach, yeah, you would need kind of a professional. I guess you can look back at your life and see what kind of patterns there are, things you noticed growing up, definitely.
Are we able to rewrite those?
Yeah.
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 Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool thing. That's what the schema therapy does.
But can we do it with, I guess, a lack of awareness?
Probably not. There's a bit that goes into the rewriting of things and kind of reprocessing, stuff like that.
So you first gotta, like, I guess as a professional, identify it, and then work towards, okay.
Yes, there's some really cool things that we do in schema therapy that are a bit weird too, which is probably why I like the approach so much. Just really looking back at memories, we can actually kind of change how you view them as well, and what meaning you've made from them.
How do we, I guess, build an understanding of this ourselves?
Looking at patterns, what kind of thoughts keep coming up? It's similar to kind of the cognitive behavioural stuff, because this one does draw on elements of cognitive behavioural as well. A lot of the time it's patterns, it's stuff that's kind of not really in our conscious awareness until we start looking for it. Again, this is where the self-awareness can come in really handy.
Yeah. What's something that you wish we knew about the scheme therapy? Or that's something that would be helpful for us to know?
Probably for most people that like schemas exist.
Yeah.
I guess like that we have these enduring patterns that may have started quite young that still impact us today. I think a lot of the time all of us kind of go through life just not really thinking about the automatic things that's happening underneath, the way we make meaning of the world and things like that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to think about that. So, yeah, well, I'm kind of like, I thought that would be like, I guess, because I see like, especially in like relationships and that, I'm just going to use my dating, but I'll see it in like, trying to like understand we're having issues and all that. If I look, like I don't understand why they're happening. If I look at the parents, it makes more sense.
Yeah.
And like, if I look at like, I guess myself and what my bad habits are, I was like, oh, that's from my parents. So I make those links, but I've also seen where, you know, looking into other people's relationships, that, and they don't have the awareness. So I'm curious what they could do to, I guess, improve that situation, or do you
to get the self-awareness kind of,
well, like help them out, because it's like, you know, they're potentially damaging a relationship, and I guess looking in, you can kind of see it.
Oh, you can see so much from the outside.
Yeah, you can see
it's so easy.
It's like,
but when you're in it, it's hard.
Yeah, like how would you help that person? I guess one, see it, or a healthy way to like help them work through it, or what's your thoughts?
From like a schema approach, we're probably looking at a like specific situation, and then be like, okay, what schema do you think was activated there? So for relationships, a lot of the time there's one called abandonment. So the expectation that people will abandon you, basically, pretty simple. So someone with an abandonment schema might push people away because they're like, it's safer for me to push people away than to be abandoned again. So that could look like, you know, quite a back and forth relationship, like pushing away, pulling back, kind of things like that. So it could be looking at that and being like, what schema do you think is coming up here? Hopefully we'd recognise that it's abandonment, and then we can be like, okay, what is this telling you? Like, why are we acting this way? Where has this come from? What's a more balanced way to kind of think about this?
I kind of also seen like, you know, like you'd say, kind of point it out.
Yeah.
and like highlight it, and they say nah, like they, I guess, not the best relationship,
Yeah.
let's say with their father and all that, and say I'm never going to be like that, but end up being like that. So
Yeah, because we like focus on what we've learned. We learn a lot by observing as young people, like as kids and stuff like that. We often don't realise what's kind of sunk in until we have to confront it.
Yeah. So how important is modelling in that stage as a parent, I
As
guess?
like for quite young children, or
Oh,
just
yeah.
children.
Children, yeah.
I think it is like we pick up on so much without even realising it, and I often say to people, especially if you've had a difficult childhood, and they're like, why is this happening? Like, I can't believe this. Like, as kids, we think everything's normal until we realise that it's not. So if you grow up in a household where, you know, there's domestic violence or stuff like that, you're going to think it's normal until you start realising that not every family's like that. So that's our map, like that's your map of the world starting already. There's your kind of foundations, if that makes sense.
So it's kind of just like, I guess, when they get introduced to or see something else that conflicts with theirs, is that it's kind of just like, do they just?
It depends.
Yeah, it depends.
That's the hard. Like, it depends on the person, depends on the situation.
Okay.
But yeah, I guess like kids are always kind of watching, taking things on. It's probably more if it's the repeated things, depending what it is. Like, obviously, if it's something really big and traumatic, kids are going to remember that. If there's a cyclone or something. But I guess with the smaller things, it's just ensuring that they're not repeated.
How big is this? Like, is it like something like here and there for some people, or should everyone look at this?
Depends. Like, I think honestly, I don't think anyone in the world would not benefit from going into some kind of therapy or seeing some kind of mental health support. I guess the Schema stuff, we're looking at kind of more long-term patterns, long-term like mental health struggles, stuff like that. Not like, I guess, your anxiety that you've had for 6 months. We're looking at stuff that's a lot deeper, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Still can be useful, but it's designed for the longer term, quite chronic conditions.
Yeah, because I kind of just think, because, yeah, like, just like looking into relationships, just, I feel like if that's never addressed, it's just like an ongoing cycle.
Yeah.
And sometimes, yeah, I'm curious, so I just point it out, or or how to, like, as a friend would help them.
I mean, you can as a friend. It depends on like your friendship and if that's something you guys kind of normally do for each other.
Yeah.
It's sometimes you're in an awkward position on the outside when you can see stuff so clearly. Like, a lot of the times you want to go say to your mate, like, hey, that was a bit odd. Like, are you okay, or something like that. And it's hard being an outsider sometimes and knowing what to say and when to say it. I struggle with that with my own friends sometimes. Like, it is a hard thing. You don't want to ruin the relationship.
Yeah.
I guess it depends how much it's impacting them and how receptive they're going to be to it.
That's right. I mean, this is a little bit off topic, but I'm curious because, you know, through, I guess, building Project Krown, which is basically just my work that helps young men develop. It's a lot of it, you know, you read, you study, like as you do for psychology. It's hard to, I guess, once you have like an understanding, to not like bring that into your day-to-day. So how's that as a psychologist? Like,
people will come to things when they're ready. Like, I can't force people to be ready. I can't force people to accept what I say. I just hope that if someone's not ready, something I've said kind of sticks. And when they are ready, there's enough there to plant a seed of change.
Do you feel like you would be like constantly analysing, or?
Oh no. People say that all the time. Like, oh, you're a psychologist, you must be analysing. And I'm like, no, I'm not getting paid. I'm not on the clock. Sorry. But you have to learn to switch off, otherwise it'd just be exhausting all the time. It's one of the best things I learned quite early on is how to switch it off. Like, when I leave, I'm leaving stuff at work most of the time. I still struggle with it, but it's one of the best skills I've had to learn.
No, I was just curious about that. And
lots of people get psychologist and psychic confused as well. They're like, oh, so you're reading my mind right now? I'm like, no. Don't have that power, sorry.
But do you feel like you like obviously have a way better understanding of the person even than them, like even more than themselves.
Oh, I think everyone's the expert in their own life, their own story. I guess I can only see the outward stuff as the professional. Like I can see maybe patterns that they engage with, but I'm not always, like I can't always tell what people are exactly thinking on the inside. I think it's important to like really centre people in their own stories.
Okay.
Like yeah, I've got professional training, but I still don't know you inside and
Yeah.
out.
No, this is going off topic, but I'm just curious. Like, what happens if, like, I came in and I'm talking to you and I'm not really giving you the proper stories? Like, it's my view, and I truly believe it's that view, but it's just,
How would I know?
Yeah,
It's
how
not
do
the
you
proper
know?
one. Sometimes with some people, you can maybe see, I guess, the way that they think is kind of clouding how they've remembered. Which sound, I'm trying not to sound mean saying that, but you can, like some people, I guess, maybe take things a lot more personally, and you can usually see that personality trait in them. So you could be like, okay, like maybe this thinking might be clouding how they're remembering this situation. Like you can think of it like it's a lens that you're viewing things through. Like if you've got a red lens on your camera, everything's gonna be red, right?
Yeah, because it's interesting. Because one thing I was like, if you, I guess, call something out or you highlight it, that could be, I guess, trigger, and they can go quite defensive.
Yep.
So how do you go about helping them without basically saying they're the problem?
Again, it comes back to that relationship. So someone feeling safe
okay.
enough to, I guess, take it on board to be like, hey, do you think this is a pattern that we've noticed? Like, what do you think is kind of causing this? I don't really want to ever dictate too much to someone because it is their life and it is their story, and it actually is better for people to come to the conclusions themselves rather than me telling them. So if someone directly asks me, like, was that message a bit was that message a bit blunt? I might say yes for something like that. Like, but a lot of the time I'd rather people come to their own conclusion because they can't see me for their whole life. They can't always have me there telling them, yes, that's the right thing in my opinion, or no, that's the wrong thing. It's about their opinion and who they are.
Okay, cool. And this kind of ties into like, you got the, upbringing, and I guess it's called narrative therapy.
Yes.
So do those work hand on hand?
They can do. Narrative therapy is like a beautiful kind of way. There's so many kind of techniques in there. Just about kind of rewriting your story. Like we often think like the stories that we have for ourselves are set in stone, but they're actually not.
Okay.
And the way that we perceive them has to stay the same the whole time, but it actually doesn't.
So why do we form stories, and how?
I guess like when we talk about like what we perceive throughout the day, like we have so much information coming into our brains, we actually can't take it all in. So like we said before, it's going to go back to the things we already believe. We're looking for stuff that's going to confirm it.
Okay.
So yeah, I always say to people, like, if you've ever started looking at buying a new car and you've settled on a particular car model or something like that, suddenly you're going to start noticing that everywhere. You're going to notice how many people have that car. Like, have you had that before?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So when we start kind of like noticing things, so if we notice that maybe people are a bit shorter with us than usual, suddenly that's going to pop up everywhere. It's actually not changed at all. It's just the perception as, I guess, the story writer that's changed, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think that's what I find so interesting about psychology is just like the lens.
Yeah. Makes
which
such
we
a
see
difference.
too.
Yeah.
I feel like it's so simple, but it's like, that's what I mean by like the glass half full. If you would just change that lens, it will change how you see the world, interact, and all that kind of stuff.
And again, brains like habits, they like doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
So if you're in this kind of negative mindset, you're going to stay in it because that's the neural pathway that's kind of travelled the most. And that's the hard bit about doing psychology sessions is you have to do that conscious effort to start a new pathway that's more positive, and you have to keep at it.
What's a great way if I'm just by myself to catch myself, and then to like break that cycle?
Probably comes back to that mindfulness, like just noticing what's happening in your thoughts, noticing without judgment what's happening in your body, kind of stuff like that. I like to do something I really love to do in the morning that sets me up for the day is I have a particular spot at home where I have my coffee in the morning. Usually I can see the birds in the bird bath, and I just be really mindful and just watch that happen. I just thoughts come and go, that's fine, but I'm really focusing on that because that's the time for me to just calm down, kind of reset. So having those little pockets of the day where you can just breathe for a bit, you don't have to be thinking about too much. There's a great book that I'm reading at the moment by Jodie Wilson, and I think it's called A Brain That Breathes. Really cool about finding little pockets of breathing space throughout the day, because we are so like on the go all the time, just giving our brain some space to actually breathe and not have to think about things too much. Really cool book. I definitely recommend it.
So yeah, I feel like as soon as like I know, like I said, like this stuff interests me, but I guess from guys aspect, it's as soon as you say like meditation or like mindfulness, like, oh my.
Oh, most people are.
Yeah.
It's really hard to bring up like, hey, mindfulness is really good for you, because a lot of people have that. It's the same with exercise. If I say, hey, exercise is really good for your mental health, like we all know this stuff. Once you start doing it, it's great, but it's really hard to get there.
Yeah. So
mindfulness doesn't have to be sitting down kind of like Zen or anything like that. You can literally go for a mindful walk, just notice the stuff that's around you. Maybe not wear your headphones for some of the walk and just notice like all the birds, the breeze. I mean, it's Kalgoorlie, so probably the sirens down the street.
Yeah. Is there too much? like just literally like a monk, just like sitting there for too long is.
Oh, I can't imagine I wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, is there any dangers of just like sitting there or just processing for too long? Like, could you?
You probably start ruminating and thinking too much over it, maybe. Which you're not really processing too much if you're ruminating a lot.
How do we distinguish between just like I'm processing to like I'm actually just replaying scenarios in my head? And
I guess it's coming back to that stuck point. Like if you keep feeling stuck, you keep looping on something, you're probably not processing it.
Okay. So what do we do about that?
Come see a psychologist.
Yeah.
Take a break from it.
Yeah, okay. Is there nothing we can do ourselves to help?
It depends what it is. I think that's where most people end up coming, I guess, to get the professional help when they are looping a lot and they have that really stuck point. Just depends on the person, depends on the situation. Like it's really hard to say, but yeah, reflecting, taking a break from it.
So yeah, I think a lot of it. How are we doing for time, Riley?
11:45.
Like, how long?
Yeah.
An hour and 10 minutes.
How are you going?
I'm okay.
You're okay?
I think I'm just dribbling stuff, but
No, you're right. We have a little bit of time to dive into is it EDMR?
EMDR.
Yes, sorry. Tell us a little bit about that, because you said it's been popping up and a lot of questions about that.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of inquiries about it. So EMDR stands for eye movement desensitization reprocessing. Started as a trauma therapy to really get past those kind of stuck points where you're looping and stuff like that. It's unlike any other type of therapy. It's really cool. It uses bilateral stimulation, so stimulation of both sides. Just hit the microphone. Usually we do that with finger movements. You can do it with tapping. You can do it with things called buzzers. And while we're processing a memory. So it's not something you can do at home at all, because there's a lot of steps that go into it, a lot of prep work beforehand. But it is really cool to see, I guess, what can process when you are using EMDR as a therapy. So things that might have been stuck for 20 years, we can process in 25 minutes.
Okay, so it helps us process like really bad events.
Yep.
And we need a psychologist to do it.
Yes, you definitely do with this one. Yep.
Why is that the case?
Because there's so much that goes into it. There's so much prep work beforehand. There's a lot of things I need to check before I start doing EMDR, just to make sure someone's suitable for it, that we've got like the right memory, the right kind of negative belief associated with it. Especially working with trauma and kind of going into trauma memories, like you need someone there that's going to be able to help you if something becomes too much. You need to know how to deal with things if it becomes too much. So yeah, unfortunately, it's not one you can do at home.
Yeah. Okay. Is it they just come to you and you kind of like, this will work well for you?
Yes, because it's quite popular at the moment, so it is currently like our gold standard as psychologists for trauma treatment. It's got really good evidence behind it. I think think it's recommended by like the World Health Organization.
Yeah.
So it is quite, I guess, a well-known therapy if you're in that space. So a lot of people have seen it before and like, oh gosh, like other stuff hasn't worked for me, maybe I'll try this. So I do have people kind of requesting it. I do have people coming in that I just know that would be a good fit for them if we can get to that point. It's just kind of the prep work beforehand, making sure that they're well resourced, that they can cope with things.
What's I guess patterns or trends that for males that you've had? You
A
think
lot
this is a
of
good fit?
childhood trauma, like abuse,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Some of them have been in relationships later on in life as well. Kind of just that stuck point, like, you know, again, it's that kind of emotional versus logical thinking. Like logically, you know that maybe you could have recovered from this by now, but emotionally you're just stuck. It can be like a good one there.
Okay, so does abuse happen quite often
Yes.
for males?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you?
I couldn't tell you stats or anything off the top of my head. I think in Australia, like our statistics for children that have experienced some kind of trauma, abuse, couldn't tell you. I think maybe, or I don't know if that's just girls. Have to get back to you
Yeah.
on the stats, but
That's
they're
fine.
actually higher than we would think. Unfortunately, it's really
Males
quite
are
a sad
higher.
thing. Females are generally
Higher.
higher because
Yeah.
of sexual abuse, but the stats for childhood abuse in general are probably higher than a lot of people think, which is quite sad.
Yeah.
And there's so many different types as well. There's kind of like, you know, neglect, there's physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse. A lot of the time, I think people have the perception if it's not kind of physical, it wasn't really abuse, which isn't the case at all.
How do you distinguish between you know, this is extensive, I need help, and, you know, this is something I can work on myself?
It depends how much it's popping up in life and
Yeah.
how much it's still impacting.
So if it's super
you know.
frequent, constantly?
Yep.
Okay.
Or if it's, you know, these thinking patterns that you've developed from this abuse. It's
And
hard to know.
how long does the treatment work like go for?
It depends how many things we've got to process.
Yeah.
Really, some of these things are so hard to give you like a straight answer
Yeah,
because they're
that's
so
right.
dependent on, you know, people and stuff like
no,
that.
I get it.
Um,
Why are you like when you text me about it, what has like there was so much like passion into this specific one. Why is that?
I think because it works so well for people. It's really nice, especially once we've done the first one, because people do look at me kind of like, oh, I guess I'm trusting you on this, because it is a bit weird. Usually we have a couple laughs at the start of the session. It's really nice to see that moment where something starts changing. It's just like a feeling that you get. So part of my training is we had to have it done on us ourselves, because it's a really hard thing to describe. It just feels like something in your brain kind of clicks and processes without you even realizing. And I really love the look of like, oh my God, on people's faces as they feel it happening.
Yeah.
And it's nice to be able to shift something that's been held on for so many years too.
Yeah. What's it feel like shifting that person from, you know, or seeing that shift?
It's just so rewarding. Like everything I do in this job is really rewarding, but I guess because it happens so quickly once you start the processing, it's really nice to see it play out that quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. So they kind of pull weird faces at the first start.
It's just the kind of like look of shock,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, something just like changed.
Yeah. That's yeah. So like, cause like tapping and all this, it's quite. So what can you walk
Generally, I
us
do
through
it with
the
like eye movement, so it's like follow my fingers kind of
Okay,
thing. So
yeah.
people are kind of like, oh, okay, like I trust you.
Yeah.
I've had like a lot of people get it kind of confused with hypnotism or something like that.
Yeah,
It's not
that's where my brain
at all.
straight away went.
Yeah, it's not at all. It does something where it kind of taxes your working memory. So our working memory is kind of the one presently. We can only hold so much information in that. So when we're reprocessing traumatic things, if we don't have the working memory kind of full, that's when we start having flashbacks and re-experiencing things. So with these eye movements, we're keeping the working memory full, so the rest of the brain can just work its magic. They're not 100% sure how it works. There's a lot of different theories of how it works. I think they're pretty close to it, but it's just something in your brain, because you're not re-experiencing it completely, is just able to process it, move past that stuck point.
This,
It sounds weird, right?
yeah, you know, it kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you've seen those TikTok where it's literally like, it's got something playing and it's just got some random thing. It's like someone just like molding pots or something.
Yeah.
That's what it kind of reminds me of. Is it something like that or?
There's different levels to it. So kind of on the lower level where we're really trying to get that distancing effect from something quite traumatic, we could do something a bit different from the eye movement. So it could be something that's just using your working memory again. So we could, like I've done it with Sudoku, with games on people's phones, just enough to really keep them engaged.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. It's actually a little bit difficult to understand.
Oh,
but,
yeah,
But yeah,
definitely.
and it's weird, but it's also works. So
Yeah, it works really well once we get to the point that we start processing.
So I think is everything good? Everything good? Yeah. Coming towards the end, I kind of want to leave something with the audience and all that. But yeah, why did people feel stuck even though they know what to do?
It's that emotional versus logical again. I think they're very different, and we don't often understand that we kind of have those differences in us with logic versus emotion. And the emotion seems to just get stuck a lot easier than the logic, I guess, because we can logic our way out of a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Logic makes sense. Emotions don't always make sense.
Yeah. If you were to, give them like a daily system that would help improve, what would that look like?
Probably one of the best things we can do is slow down a bit, get out in nature, outdoors. That's really good for us. Those are pretty simple things that most people can do. Like take some time in your day to like purposefully slow down, spend a bit of time in nature. That will help recharge us. Again, it's meeting those basic needs as well.
So
the simple stuff that everyone says works, because it does work, but it's really hard to implement them. I know, I get it.
Basics. It's just interesting how a lot of it's just doing the basics, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and it's hard because sometimes we want that magic pill that's going
Yeah,
to fix
yeah,
everything,
yeah.
but it's
It's
the
like-
basics
yeah,
and consistency,
literally.
unfortunately.
Yeah. If you, for my audience, could leave one thing as a young man, what one piece of advice would you give to them?
I don't know, probably like talk to your mates more. I think a lot of guys I see, I'm sure, like about, does your mate feel anxious too? Oh yeah, but we don't talk about it. I think it could be really helpful if we started, young men feeling comfortable to start talking about things and be like, hey, I'm feeling a bit anxious today. Your mate's probably going to be like, oh my god, me too.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be anything deeper than that, but it's just someone else sees me, someone else feels the same way I do. It can be really powerful.
So opening up to
Yeah.
friends. Yeah. I appreciate it.
That's
Thank you
alright.
for that.
Well,
Yeah.
I hope that wasn't too bad.
No, it's good. It's good.
Sorry about that. I just kept coming out.
Yeah.
That's
That's
okay.
good.
I don't think I looked at that camera once.